Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to give you some tips on how to get really good clean slow motion, because a lot of people might just record a video with their camera at 1080p and not be able to change the frame rate of their camera, so they want to do slow motion, and in reality it's really jittery slow motion and not buttery smooth like you see like a cinematic slow motion. So I'm going to show you some videos of some surfers that I took at 1080p at 60 frames per second. And why 1080p 60 frames per second? Because with 60 frames per second it makes your video very smooth, and usually Hollywood movies are shot at 24 frames per second and shot at 30 frames per second. So you can tell a big difference between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. And I can show you the difference right now by just using my action camera, so you can see my face and you'll be able to see the 30 frames per second and the 60 frames per second and see a big difference in quality. So I'll play that right now. So what you're looking at here is 720p at 60 frames per second, and you can see the slow motion is very crisp and very sharp, no jittering whatsoever. Now you should see the big difference between 1080p at 60 frames per second versus 1080p 30 frames per second. And you can see how extremely smooth this image looks like, and it's good because you can slow it down. So now you can see in the timeline that this surfing clip, which was this one, it's a lot more smooth when you do the slow motion. And I'll say, for the people who do a lot of like video vlogs on YouTube, who do 1080p 60 frames per second, it does not look that great. I think 1080p 60 frames per second looks good when you slow it down into slow motion, or you're doing like high action videos like this one right here, which is a surfer. And I'll play both clips so you guys can be able to see the difference and whatnot. And this part of the video is being shot at 1080p at 30 frames per second, which is video. 1080p is usually internet video quality. 1080p 24 frames per second is usually like that Hollywood movie, and you can see a big difference in the quality of being in slow motion compared to what maybe you guys might be doing. And look how smooth that looks. Sometimes you could say that looks overly realistic. And what I mean by that is overly realistic is because it's really overly realistic. Because sometimes I've seen people in the comment section on YouTube videos saying they get kind of like headaches because it's so smooth. It's too smooth sometimes. And a lot of times I don't do 1080p 60 frames per second because it's just too smooth and it doesn't look appealing to a lot of people. So you can't get emotionally sick by watching it. And here's the 1080p 60 frames, and then the 1080p 60 frames slowed down to 1080p 30 frames. 1080p 60 frames, and now the slow motion version. And look how smooth the slow motion looks. If they wanted to make it like, here's overly ridiculously slowed it down. See how it's a little jittery because I slew it down too much. And there is a difference between slowing it down too much, because I could take this clip, copy it, and just slow it down a very tad, and you will see a big noticeable difference in the quality. See a huge difference in quality. The one on the left should look a lot more smoother. It's what you would see in a Hollywood movie. 30 frames is what you see on typically YouTube internet videos, and 60 frames per second is usually what you see in GoPro high action videos like GoPro, but they usually rendered at 30 frames per second just because they just use the 60 frames for the slow motion parts of their videos. So remember, this has been another tip on Sony Vegas Movie Studio Platinum 13. Just want to give you guys a heads up. And if you guys are interested in more videos like this, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'm Trevor, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See you guys in another vlog coming very soon. Bye bye.